Yeah, response video to Pyrrho. Continuing this subject about, life having this element to it that's quite gnarly, difficult, nasty bits. There's no, will the human race ever be able to do it right kind of argument. Started by Matt, thou art that. Anyway, and, this my accusation that it's bad enough that there are these ignorant people living in a fake reality where they're living because a god had created them and it has a plan for them and they're going to go do whatever, eat tasty cake and spaghetti Monctureville. Anyway, whatever the silly narrative is, that's just a lie and nonsense. And then, that's bad enough. But then you people who rationally recognize some elements anyway of the biological mechanism, the fact that it's fundamentally parasitical in all of its elements, that it's just a reproduction for the sake of reproduction, survival for the sake of survival, that the machinery has no intrinsic function. It's a machine just made of parts, just made of tools, and it doesn't do anything except survive. And that's a problem for an intelligence. Intelligence is going to say that's not good enough, at this price especially, and that's why I label you what you are, glib, lazy thinkers who just want to rationalize traditional notions of value and purpose with your stoic mush. And that's all it is, a stoic mush. So anyway, so Pyrrho, he doesn't like that accusation, apparently. So anyway, I'll go through what I took as notes, and then I'll play pieces of his video, just to make this simple. The subject of suicide really isn't the subject, but fine. I'm arguing that there's no advantage to getting out if you have a brain and you have some function, because there's so much for you to fix here. There's so much blood oozing out of so many orifices and so much crap that there's so much to heal, or however you want to look at it, that there's probably no pragmatic, practical way you could justify being intelligent and saying, I'm too much of a liability to the cause. Your intelligence would be such a benefit to your voice, your ability to persuade people not to be assholes has so much value that it overwhelms the value of your negated suffering of enduring the monotony and frustration and futility of personal satisfaction and gratification in living in a pigsty, in a slopatorium, in a slaughterhouse. So even though it's unpleasant for you personally, probably rationally, logically, there would be cause for you to endure that pain because you can maximize the benefit in terms of prevention. By enduring your disease, you will prevent the spread of the disease. And there's such a high value potential in that in most cases, and unless you're in extreme pain, living's probably the right thing to do. There's a war going on, and yeah, I mean, killing yourself in wartime is not very clever, and it's not like a typical war where it's winner take all. It's like every day you endure the battle is a day where you can minimize and negate harm, and that's really valuable. So again, I don't really think suicide has anything to do with the subject, in the sense that suicide is an option only if necessary, only if you can't possibly function in any way productive whatsoever, rationally. You can't see how that's possible. Well then, okay, you have to do what you have to do. But I mean, if I can prevent two individuals from enduring what I'm enduring, I'm obligated in a sense, rationally. It's just a rational equation. I can prevent two people having syphilis by having syphilis. If I can have that arrangement, if I can make that deal, the obligation sort of exists. You know, it's not an obligation I feel comfortable imposing on somebody. I'm just saying it's a rational obligation. Alright, so fundamentally he's arguing that this game can be played. And yeah, it's okay, it's not probable, you know, maybe it's possible in weird ways, not in pragmatic ways, which right there is a concession. You know, that why would you mess with something dangerous for the high likelihood of failure? You're the one advocating doing something, you know, doing it. You're not saying prevent, you're saying go for it. So again, you know, you have to make a rational argument defending going for it in that circumstance. You concede the odds are slim, there's no obligation to do it, and yet you're saying go ahead and do it. I mean, you know, even if you can't stop the world from doing it, you're helping them ride the wagon to hell. Why are you putting gasoline in their car tank? Why aren't you saying, no, I'm not going to put gas in your tank, I'm not going to help you? Fuck consciousness. Does this make any sense? And the bottom line is he made this kind of personal by bringing up his daughter, which is, you know, it's relevant, but, you know, it's philosophy. We don't need to get into all this personal crap. But, you know, you still think you can control the experiment. You still think that, oh yeah, if I tweaked this knob and I pushed this switch, then everything would have been okay. You didn't learn anything, in my opinion. You didn't learn that, no, the lesson to be learned is you can't control the experiment. That yes, you can certainly do things, you can overtly not do things that are stupid, but it's really hard to control the experiment. You can do everything right, be right, do right, and it still fails. And that's the lesson you should have learned. That it's too dangerous to mess with. And you can't say those words. Why? Because you're glibly rationalizing excuses for assholes going on joyrides. And that's all it is. Steal a car, go on a joyride. Maybe you personally say, well, I don't think that's a great idea, and that's the best you can do? Well, I say it sucks. I say it's a glib attitude to the victims you will impose on because of your inability to utter the words, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's not rational. It's not intelligent. Stupid people do this, not smart people. Alright. Yeah, there was another point I wanted to make connected to this, and it's sort of important. So I'm going to think for a second. Yeah, probably isn't going to come to me. I mean, damn, that's a good point. Oh, okay, so yeah, it's the concession. So in his video he did this to be or not to be thing. As soon as you're asking the question to be or not to be, you've already answered the question about whether you should procreate. If you are at all in doubt about the merits of this experiment, you have no business procreating. If you barely can cling to your own existence, if you can barely muster finding the energy or the reason to continue existing, if there's any point in your life where you've had that dilemma, you have absolutely no business committing this aggressive, affirmative act. I mean, you've violated logic right there. How can you concede that you are troubled by this circumstance and yet put somebody in the circumstance? I mean, fuck. I can't call that glib denial. I mean, it's preposterous. I have to, work very hard to maintain enough enthusiasm to play this idiotic game, and yet I'm going to say go ahead and force somebody else to play it? Fuck. That's just so obnoxious. Alright. Alright, so, so possibility, he said that, and so, again, he's, you know, there's a difference between, you know, the whole long odds argument, you know, of success. And that would be fine if you're trying to prevent something, because then you have no option. You have no option but the long odds, because we're not given any choice, and it's for a cause of prevention. You're not trying to prevent, you're trying to cause. Okay, you're defending causing. I'm defending preventing. These are two opposite things, and so they have a very different standard. If you're going to be a causer, if you're going to be an aggressor, you have to meet a higher standard of justification for your long odds practicality. I don't have to be practical, because I can go for the you know, 1 in a billion chance thing, because I have nothing to lose, because I'm not initiating something. You have everything to lose because you are initiating, you're imposing. So it's a completely different standard. It's as different as the standard for, you know, taking a risk with your own welfare and taking a risk with somebody else's welfare. Fundamentally different things. Alright, yeah, playing with imposition fire is glib. Somebody playing with fire in a, you know, tinder box is glib. And you're just endorsing it. You're endorsing this recklessness in the face of not only the prospect that it may be intrinsically and fundamentally futile, but that you're conceding that it's difficult, you know, long odds of taking what we have now and constructing it into a better future, because we have liabilities of tradition and heritage that are just maybe incapable of being overcome. So you're conceding it all, and yet you're glibly saying, go ahead and play with the fire. No, though, you should be advocating a huge amount of caution. Only play with the fire if you absolutely are certain you know what you're doing and that you can control the fire. And again, you're advocating that somehow, yes, I should have controlled it. I just needed to turn the dial 4, you know, ex-wife off, and somehow that would have saved the day. She wouldn't have gotten cancer. You don't know what the fate of anybody is, and you certainly have no control over it. Okay, and you call that, I just call this, you say you're being thoughtful. No, you're casually and sloppily rationalizing. Alright, so now we're back to, at the end of his argument. He was going back to this privilege argument, which is so obnoxious. You know, that all these anti-natalists are just a bunch of angsty people from privilege, which is absolutely a lie. They have no personal experience, which is a lie. And no personal pain. Fuck you. I mean, it's just bullshit. You know, the more important point is here's, you know, he's arguing that, you know, people in the third world are so desperate to live that they don't have time to have these contemplations and these considerations. No, they don't have the intelligence to have them. That's part of what time is. Time having leisure to acquire knowledge and to contemplate the meaning of existence without just doing it in some superficial God says so way. Yeah, it takes time to acquire that knowledge. It takes time to understand evolution. It takes time to understand your place in the universe. It takes a lot of thought. And yeah, they don't have time to do that. But that's ignorance. That's not a good thing. That's a bad thing. They're ignorant, Pyrrho. They're not stoic. They're not brave. They're stupid. I'll say that again. They're not stoic. They're not brave. They're not heroic. They're stupid. Shit. Alright, so I guess I would add to this, you know, just as another point to be made on this argument of what it takes to get to a better future. And I've often made this argument that the real problem, one of the biggest problems, is, you know, us resorting to violence as a solution for problems, simple answers to complex problems, that kind of thing. That ain't gonna work. And certainly, the problem with civilization is that to have it, you have to pay a price for it, and the price is this freedom nonsense kind of has to be thrown away. You can't have chaos and system design. They're obnoxious to each other. You can't have a well-constructed building made by chaos incorporated. It just isn't going to work. And so, in a way, civilization requires a kind of fascism. Yeah, it's only fascism in appearance, because it's all good and well intended and thoughtful, but it still requires it. And so it's kind of like sometimes propaganda can look like a fact, but it's not. And I'm just saying that you got to pay for civilization, and the price is you've got to narrow the construction. You've got to design it. Alright, so the privilege argument, which is bullshit, I already pointed out. It's ignorance that keeps the poor eating the gruel. The Glibites are serving the gruel. The poor will eat it. They'll eat your rationalizations and live by them. So, bad on you. That's how I look at it. You're part of the solution, or you're part of the problem. And you're just telling me you prefer to be part of the problem. Anyway.
Well, Gary, I'm so sorry that you thought that my input on this was glib. I think your solution is a bit glib. On the other hand, one commenter is like, "Oh, Gary really was, trashed you in his video," which
yeah, well, fuck commenters. I didn't trash you in my video, and I even said in the video I really didn't intend to. I didn't anticipate the video would be as hostile as it was. It just that I got angry as I was making the video, because what you were saying was just silly rationalizations. And first off, I think you're smarter than that, and second off, I find that obnoxious. I find that the number one problem with the universe is tradition and heritage and idiots who just rationalize the status quo. And that's all you were doing. Status quo, in the box thinking.
I am suicidal. Plenty. I've had a lot of suicidal thoughts since my daughter died. And when I was young, I decided I did not want to commit suicide. I thought it through, and I think everybody should.
Yeah. Well, again, so if you're thinking it through, if you're even considering it as an option or a preferable solution to your dilemma, then what business do you have in creating more people? In creating people. You can't even resolve with certainty your own existence. It's not even obvious to you why you're playing the game, and yet you're going to sign someone else up. That, to me, is glib, irresponsible, hypocritical, duplicitous bullshit.
As a result, choosing the wrong abusive partner and having children that I gave everything I could give to, who still wanted to seek out a way to deaden their pain. I should have.
So I was going to say you should have kept him from the ex-wife. Yeah, well, you're saying that that's the problem, right? You're not going to say society, culture, school, peers, all these other things wouldn't have consumed them anyway. You can't just look at the statistics and figure out that they're going to get consumed. And so you've diagnosed the problem, and so you've decided that it wasn't that the game was dangerous and intrinsically and fundamentally so. No, you just didn't turn that one dial the right way. And if you just turn the right dial the right way, everything works out okay. There's happily ever after. Bull. Shit. Jumping. If it plays.
Then that's a practical concern. The fact that it's technically possible doesn't mean it's actually possible, that it's actually going to happen. You know, it's technically...
So there we go. He's conceding. There's this little glimmer of blinky hope way over the horizon there, that you're going to somehow be able to play this game right. And yet he's going to advocate making a stream of fodder to pave that road, to make the asphalt, to getting to that little bare hope, you know, building this bridge to nowhere, and knowing that it grinds up, you know, billions of sentient existences. And I can't call that glib. Your glib response to, you know, 1,000,000 times more horror than the Holocaust that goes on all the time, every day in nature, every day in our factory farms, every single day. The victims are being ground up, and I can't call you glib because you're saying, well, I can see the little tiny blinky blink light. I see the little LED way off in the horizon, so it's okay. Keep paving the road with their fucking skulls. Yeah, sorry. Glib. Glib. Fuck you, glib. Okay, YouTube, come on.
Relatively free of oppression, worries of being raped. Well, I believe such a situation could exist, but if you have it, is it sustainable? Does somebody eventually think they want to try something that they're not suited for, and there's going to be a conflict on that? Or let's say that never happens. What about their children? We don't know how to raise...
Well, yeah, well, even if you get to your perfection, you can't stop the next AIDS virus or the next super bug or the next thing that'll overwhelm our technology and prevent... give us no chance or no way to mitigate against. You can't stop the, you know, whatever, the asteroid or the this or the that or the climate, you know, the continents decide to go fly around, the moon splits in half. There's a, you know, this whole idea that, yeah, you're going to be able to... Sustainable is a silly word. It's not going to be sustainable. The sun's going to supernova, and you're going to be... the human race is going to be done. Now, it can end gracefully, or it can end badly. You can play it out in some dystopia for another 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 years. You could sentence the biological life on Earth to live out another, you know, 10 or 20 or 30 million more years. You know, just eking out worms, just pushing through the humus, the body parts, and say bravo. I mean, again, I can't come up with this is such glibness in the face of the suffering.
They just advocate parts of it, like, you know, they want pathological, psychotic narcissists to run the show, which they just, for some reason, feel is necessary. And they don't know that that decision is the same as saying we need war and slavery in order to survive.
Right, so he's just going on a little bit about the ego nature and that it's all this hierarchy crap, and yet everybody wants to play the lottery and everybody wants to be a billionaire, and so that's the psychology that's won, and it's not obvious that psychology can be defeated by merely saying that's retarded. You have to explain why it's retarded, and the why it's retarded is explaining evolution, psychology, and how you can't win this carnage game. You can't win gladiator war. You can't win it. Moving on. I don't know why YouTube's not playing the damn video.
For not having kids, right?
Let me go back and see what he said there.
Going towards your conclusion, well, I guess you're screwed because they're not starting out at your conclusion. We're barely at the point where people may be able to live lives where they're not pressured and insulted for not having kids, right?
Yeah, we're only barely at that point because no one will be hard ass. All you rationalizers, all you glibites, just keep advocating for this diversity crap and just keep saying they're entitled to their relativistic, nonsensical opinions. You don't have any balls. You won't stand for fucking anything. Your values are ambiguous, vaporous mush that are just circumstantial to your advantage. And so what am I supposed to say? Yeah, the problem is you. Okay, yeah, the problem is your kind. Alright, none of intelligence can't be spread if the intelligent don't have the balls to do it. They have to get out there and shovel this shit. And if they're not going to do that work, if they're not going to have the stomach for it, to sit there and point their finger at their fellow man and say, you dumb cunt, shut the fuck up until you goddamn have some sort of intelligence, some sort of knowledge to justify your opining. You're making up the truth, you fucker. Shit. They'll remain ignorant as long as you keep telling them that's okay.
Things fall apart. That doesn't mean we have to have slavery. Right? It doesn't mean we have to have war. It doesn't mean we have to have so much rape. Right? It doesn't mean that. Right? It means that everything's mortal. It means the universe.
Yeah, whatever. We know we're competitive by nature. We know that we're made to be gladiators in a silly and insane arena. That's our construction. Well, yes, we can train the Tyrannosaurus to drink with its pinky out, you know, out of the proper teacup, and to use the proper language, and not to bite you in the neck because it feels like it really wants to. But if we train it hard enough, will it have any reason to live? And the argument is, if you take the agenda engine out of us, then there's really no reason to play the game. Because now you don't even have the agenda. Because the agenda is all driven by want and desire.
We're just going to, fall apart at some point on its own. It's going to freeze, or it's going to recollapse and burn up. Something is like this.
Yeah, right. And, again, I can't call it glib because some asshole says, well, eventually the old person will die. So yeah, just keep them alive like a vegetable in the nursing home for 100 years. Am I supposed to call that glib? While they're going, kill me, kill me, kill me, let's say. That's all they can say is kill me, kill me, kill me, kill me. And some glibite comes by like you and just says, well, they're going to die eventually. So, yeah, keep them alive until the eventual. Torture them until then. Fuck you. Stupid.
That you don't engage with directly, you're glib about it, right? You just go, well, it's obvious.
Yeah, well, I don't think I just go, it's obvious. I make 30-minute videos, 4,000 of them, trying to explain why rationally we can only understand ourselves as basically existing on a bug planet, and that we are like a Tyrannosaurus. If Tyrannosaurus got intelligence first, they'd have our dilemma. They'd have this dilemma. It's have to be more obvious to them because they could look in the mirror and see, the resemblance to the bug. And because we don't resemble it as much, we have this notion that that's not what we're doing, but that's what we are. You're a flatworm, Pyrrho, okay? A flatworm that can sing and dance. You're just a GI track run amok with a bunch of specialized tools that just make you better and more insidious in your acquisition. And that's our fundamental nature, that's our origin, and there's nothing realistically you can make out of that. And I haven't just said it's obvious. I've made the arguments in many different ways, from many different perspectives, explaining why. This is the only rational conclusion. It's the only way you can do logic. If you do logic, this is the conclusion you're going to end up in.
Train themselves to fight to survive, and it becomes alien, the idea that survival itself is the problem. Right? When you have to fight really hard to survive, you don't grow a mindset that makes, hey, just stop surviving, just give up.
Right, you don't grow a mindset. You don't grow a mindset. You don't have intelligence. You're just an ignorant, dumb redneck. You're just an idiot. And you're advocating for idiocracy now. So you're just defending idiocracy. That's not what intelligent people are. Troubled. Intelligent people find responsibility daunting and burdensome. Yes, the ignorant asshole, give him $1 billion and he'll be able to piss it away with no problem. Give it to somebody with a little bit of intelligence and they're going to have a big problem. Because they know that money's going to represent life and death. And again, so I'm not supposed to call this glib attitude of making no real concession that there's a huge difference between enlightened, thoughtful, compassionate humans and stupid, dumb, hardworking, but stupid fuckers.
To get someone like Heroin Church on your side, because he didn't have to develop a will to survive.
Oh, so yeah, again, so he's just using Heroin Church because he's, some elitist living off luxury, and somehow that's what all antinatalism is. And I'm not, frankly, fuck you. You want me to classify you Glibites by some personality trait? I want to waste time doing that. Fuck that shit. I have to take responsibility for no one but myself, shithead. And I've held these opinions independent of my circumstances, whether they be bountiful or meager. And I've lived in both worlds. Fuck you. Fuck you for that, anyway. So anyway, till next time and such. See if you can dig the hole deeper. I'm just thinking now about your stupid Jefferson videos. You really can be such an obnoxious asshole. Frankly. Yeah. Really. Outrageously slanderous in your character assassination bullshit. Cheap arguments, Pyrrho. Cheap.